This is Council Matters.
Hang on 1 second. Sorry.
Oh, I've just clicked it. Are you there, Rachel?
Yeah, I'm there. We just need to make sure we are up on YouTube.
Okay.
I haven't got the option on YouTube on my screen.
I think I clicked it when I meant to press recording, so.
Okay.
Okay, well, we're definitely recorded, so we may have to just put it up afterwards.
Okay, are we good to go?
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Council Matters. Thank you all for coming, panellists and councillors and staff. If I could ask that you all please keep yourself on mute, and you will be unmuted when you're invited to speak. Can I also ask that you put questions on any subject on the question board? The question board is going to be moderated by Becky, and she will make sure that she does come to all of your questions in time. As you know, this is being recorded for YouTube. Can you, when councillors, can I ask when voting, can you please use your actual hand and your digital hand, and make sure that we give the counter enough time to count up all the votes. And I think without further ado, we can move on to point number 1, which is apologies. We have from Nick Dove, Andy Rintmore and Anita. Have we had any further apologies? Okay, that's great, thank you. Any declarations of interest in the upcoming agenda? Richard?
Yeah, the cheese and grain agenda item, as a trustee, I will just have to dip out of that one. So I won't take part in the discussion or voting.
Okay, any others? No, okay, that's great. And we need to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Can somebody propose those for me? Lizzie, some seconder, John Nelson. And do we approve or not? Is that counted?
Oh yeah, hang on.
Oh, sorry.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's unanimous.
Apart from, I was absent at the last one, so I don't count.
Okay, so unanimous apart from Richard. Thank you very much. That's great. Let me move on to questions and comments from the public and councillors. We'll take any questions from the public first. Are there any questions? Paul or Becky?
Rachel has got.
Rachel?
Sorry, we haven't got any questions, but we have got apologies from Helen White, Damon Hooton, Richard Pinnock and Helen Sprawson-White. Just to let you know, that's in the chat.
Thank you very much. And Anne?
Hi, I've got some good news. Ros White sent me an email late this afternoon, 4 minutes to 5 this evening, but she wanted to get us some good news because she knew we had a meeting tonight. And as you know, I think in our last Town Matters meeting, we were discussing Boyle Cross transfer. I think that might have come up, but anyway, I wrote to Ros, and she's very kindly got an answer back to me, a partial answer to some of the queries that we have outstanding. I'll read you the letter. Dear Anne, as you are aware, Mendip District Council has been actively deploying staff to meet the local NHS requests for support for the vaccination programme, testing centres, etc. And so our services have been disrupted. This has resulted in delays to my inquiries to respond to all of the issues you have raised. However, given you have a meeting tonight, I thought I would in part respond to your inquiries, namely the Boyle Cross. I do want to give you my assurance it continues to be our intention to return to the people of Frome this site and fountain, and we have no intention to make a charge over what I expect be the usual legal contractual £1 charge. However, I hope you can appreciate we do need to meet the council's legal and governance requirements for a current valuation of any property in advance of any transfer. I will get back to you promptly now on the other issues. So some good news. I know some of us councillors were a bit concerned that we might have to pay to have the Boyle Cross, but it looks like it's a legal nicety, a peppercorn fee to make the forms work, I suppose, with the land registry or something. So it looks like we might have to pay £1 for the marketplace. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Anne. I see that Drew wanted to say something on that. Can we patch Drew in? Can't hear you, Drew.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just wanted to reiterate what Ros said. Now, Ros spoke to me at the same time as the email was sent. She reiterated to me that it is purely procedural, getting the valuation on the site, that is governance, and she did reiterate to me that they were aimed to go for a nominal fee, which I believe could be £1. So, you know, there are no confusions there. This is completely unequivocal, and I think that let's stick with the process. We are going to get there, and Froome Town Council is going to get the Boyle Cross and is not going to have to pay an arm and a leg. So we're getting there. Stick with it. We're all talking to one another now. It's moving in the right direction. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks very much, Drew, for that. Mark, you got your hand up? Yeah.
Yeah, Drew, in your conversation with Ros, did she mention anything about the ongoing maintenance costs that they've been sharing with us up until now? We asked for some sort of compensation on taking it on, because it's not only taking on the huge benefit of having an area in the centre of town, but you also take on quite a large amount of running costs. Did you cover that?
No, I did that. We didn't touch on that, but I understand from, if my memory serves me correctly, and my memory can be a bit of a rat's nest sometimes, rat's maze, but my memory serves me correctly. I believe that they were talking about a dowry to make it affordable for the council. That's my recollection of it last time. I'm very happy to follow that up for the town to make sure that is the case, and to follow that through. So, but that's my recollection of it anyway.
That's great. Thanks for that, Drew. Any other comments on that? Paul?
Yeah, the point Mark made, Anne and myself and Peter and Janine, I think, are meeting up with Ros next Thursday evening. Anne, is that? And we'll ensure that we raise that question then with her, and sort of get to the bottom of the little loose ends on this.
Excellent. Thumbs up everywhere. Anyone else? Okay, brilliant. Then we'll move on to, we've got next comms and marketing update. Rachel, if you'd like to take over. Oh, Rich.
Sorry, just in terms of questions, it was amended to further decision on the retreat application in light of various misdemeanors and so on, but let's not go into that now. But I'm just suggesting that it might be a good time for the town council to go back and approach the developers to talk about the possibility of the path in an informal way. So I'd just like to put that out there, that I think we should do that. It doesn't need a vote, but I think it would be good to do that. And I'm very willing to go and do it with Jane or Steve or whoever.
Excellent.
Just clarification, Rich, which council? Somerset?
Yeah, amend it, deferred the application.
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking about the footpath. I thought that was at Somerset. Sorry.
No. It's to talk to the developers about the housing and the work units there, to see if we can get them on side.
Great. Okay. Right, now over to Rachel for marketing and communications team updates.
Yes, thank you very much. And in fact, I'm going to hand you straight over to George, who has been working fearlessly and tirelessly on our new website, which is up and live as we speak. So over to George first.
Hi, thank you. I'm just going to try and share my screen. Bear with me a moment. Are you seeing the new website? Is that working?
No.
No, it doesn't appear
not.
at the moment, George.
Hey?
No, it's not sharing at the moment.
Uh-oh, hang on. bear with me, not done this one before.
Yeah, there we go.
Is that working?
Yeah.
Hooray! Right, so this is our new website for those that haven't seen it. And for those with a short memory, the old website was sort of starting to look a little bit, maybe a little bit tired, shall we say, and also wasn't really user-friendly anymore, because we had quite a lot of content, and we needed a better way of displaying it. And also, as you'll probably know, one of the major reasons for updating it is the new accessibility government guidelines, which requires all government websites to be accessible. And accessibility is like quite a broad spectrum of things. So it would be like navigating around the website using keyboard, using speech recognition software, screen readers. So one of the main things about that, so the new website, is moving away from a menu-led site. So we have got a little menu up here in the corner, but ideally, anyone should be able to navigate the site quite easily without using the menu. So I'll just have a quick scroll down just to show you the kind of main way it's changed. So this is our homepage. So these are our kind of main areas, as you might remember from the old site. So we've got council, community, and business. This will take us through to the news section. And then we've got a couple of other extra bits down here. So this is all changeable as well, so we can update it as new things come in. And just going through, just so you can see a little bit if you haven't looked at it already. So again, this is like, we do have the menu is always up here in the corner, but we've got the blocks here. So in theory, this is kind of like your menu in front of you on a plate. So you can click through to a page, and then you have the sub menu within it, where you can then choose your next section to look at. So yeah, there are lots of things that this website does, which you can't really sort of see from an accessibility point of view. But if you need to access it, you will know it's there. So there are elements like being able to zoom in to like 300% without the text spilling off. Like I said, being able to navigate using keyboard without a mouse. And also we've got a much better, new improved search function on this website, which allows you, if I just type in something now. So we've got a sort of better filter system. So we'll literally pick up, so if you type the word solar, it literally picks up anything within the website, documents, events, news posts, pages with those titles in. And if you were looking for a specific document, you could click the resources button and that will filter it through. Just trying to think what else. Oh, another new little function which is quite handy, which we'll find in the menu, is the report and request. So this is to try and ease the pressure from our the phone team, Trisha and Nikki, to make it easier to find quick, handy things on the website. And it's also a useful resource for them as well if they're on the phone to find quick references. So it's just the things that people might call up and say, right, we need a new bin. And we've just got quick links in here of all the different things that you might report or request. So there's lots of different things in here. And this is a nice resource that we can kind of just keep adding to as and when new inquiries come in. I think that's the kind of like the main features that I'd like to show, unless Rachel's got anything else I've completely missed.
No, I think that is everything. Other than I would just like to say that quick overview that George has just given does not reflect in any way the mammoth task that it has become. The website has become, it now has over 200 pages and really does represent a whole heap of work that George has done over the last year, and I think is a really great, now can be really held up as a great example of what a town council website should be. So thank you for that, George. That's great. Did you want to come out of the screen? So I've just got a few other bits and bobs to add, really. Just in terms of, just wanted to say a little bit more about why the website is so very important. Obviously, we've been working really hard on the website. So I'm just going to share my screen. PowerPoint. Share. Play from current side, and then hopefully we have a nice slide there. So as you can see, down, oh, I just need to move you guys. So, you know, our website sets out all of our really good projects. We've got our information, the services, we've got engagement, action, events, brand, everything you've just seen on the website. And it is all essentially there. We do still have print media, we do still have posters, but the website really is our best face forward. It can't be changed by anybody else other than us, and that is really important in this ever-changing digital world where things get manipulated all the time. It sets out all of our really good projects and explains our strategic objectives, if you like. It's the why of things. And of course, a huge driver for traffic to the website now, along with the Freedom Times, which is of course part of our print offer, is of course social media. So I thought I'd just say a little bit about what we have been doing since we last reported. We last reported here in November, although we have talked a little bit about what we were doing in December in Town Matters, because we were so very business focused. So I'm just going to move that along and just have a little look at this. So here's a snapshot of our website figures. The spike shows the unexpected traffic. That's this spike here. We are always looking for the holy grail, the green, and what we never want is a red or an orange. So we've managed to stay blue, which is pretty good in the winter, given that we've been mostly shut down. But this spike was due to the information that we provided when we moved from tiers 3 to 4, despite the fact that we were all on holiday. So we were quite pleased that we managed to get the information out to everybody when they needed it in a timely fashion. So throughout December, we used our social media channels and website to run some successful seasonal campaigns, which I did talk about. The Advent calendar, the Elf on the Shelf, the online Christmas market, as well as the Lantern Trail. All of this helped to raise seasonal spirits in a challenging year when our normal Christmas festivities were unable to take place. They also supported local businesses, which was really important in that small window of opportunity that they had. In terms of engagement, news of the shops reopening at the beginning of December alongside our special website posts, moving from tiers 3 to 4, had the greatest engagement. We were able to provide the latest information really quickly, so that is really great. And as you can see, our job opportunities also elicited great interest. The research role for the Green and Healthy programme was advertised during this period and was really popular. Free car parking from Mendip was also really well received, and so we get the glory from that, if you like, as the teller of the story. And sadly, it works the other way around. Rodden Road closure, the extension, but of course then the subsequent reinstated walkway following FTC's intervention, that had a remarkable reach of over 14,000 and was definitely a reputational win. So that was December. January, we used all our channels to keep everyone informed around our events. From good news stories to recycling, and January saw folks continue to engage, sadly, when it comes to road closures and footpath closures, as the bridge closed to Pilly Vale had the biggest reach with over 9,000 engagements. Posts regarding the government rules during lockdown also engaged with heavily, particularly posts around play parks and the skate parks. All of that information has been kept fully up to date on our website, where we link to our social posts. There's also been an increased engagement following the closure of the skate park, of course, I'm afraid to report. Events that have been able to take place online have created lots of traffic, from social posts through to our website. The restorative conversation training and the marketing your business are examples of integrated campaigns across all channels, which has increased both community and local business engagement, with 72 and 74 people booked on respectively across the sessions. So that's been good. And in a dreary start to the year, good news stories such as celebrating Jill Phone and her volunteering efforts, and the campaign for the Saturday market, of course, and its reinstatement, subsequent reinstatement, were also really, really well received, with likes and comments and shares. Of course, it's not really about likes, obviously. We jump-started to the new year. We've done spring walks, we've talked advice and guidance, Children's Mental Health Week, community grants we've promoted, we've done a volunteer drive at the start of the year, and we're now looking forward to other events. Window Wonderland, Women in Business are right at the forefront of our mind, but of course our thoughts are now tentatively turning to the larger events. So that is everything that I've got to say.
Thank you very much, Rachel. That was really interesting to see how that is all going on, and well done, George, on the website. It looks really, really good. It looks like it's going to be easy to use and you know, bright and attractive and cool. Rach?
Oh, just one more thing. We have invited PACE Group and Open Storytellers to put it through its paces, so to speak. PACE, for those of you who don't know, are an accessibility group, and Open Storytellers, everybody knows who they are. So, so they'll put it through its paces and we'll tweak accordingly.
That's great. But even just from looking at it, then you can see it's just looks a lot more interactive, a lot more intuitive. So yeah, well done everyone that's worked on that. Any other comments or observations or questions on either of those presentations? Marvelous. Moving swiftly on, then we have now Steve and Dan. Who are going to talk about the COVID improvements being proposed at the Cheese and Grain. This is going to be for approval, so we'll listen to what they've got to say. Can we patch Steve and Dan in?
Sarah, can I just say that I'm going to provide a brief intro.
Sorry, you did tell me that. Yeah,
but certainly, yes. Let's make Dan and Steve panelists.
Absolutely. Sorry, you did tell me that.
I'll quickly hand over to them once I've done my intro.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a start. So
I see Steve. I can't see Dan yet.
Okay.
I think Dan's got his video on, so maybe that's why.
Oh yeah, okay.
I can't see anyone. Hey, there we go. Okay, I see him.
Okay, there we go. Thanks very much, Peter. Off you go.
Okay, so I'm going to provide a brief introduction and then quickly hand over to Steve MacArthur, who, as you know, is the General Manager of the Cheese and Grain. And he's going to talk about the importance of the new ventilation system that we're proposing to the future success of the venue. We're also joined, I'm pleased to say, by Dan Grimes, who's Vice Chair of the Cheese and Grain. And I'm actually working quite closely with him on the technical aspects and procurement of the new system. And I'm sure we'll be in a very good position to answer any questions you may have on those points. So just a few points I'd like to make. As a measure of FTC support for the Cheese and Grain through the difficult trading period in 2020, we provided a 16k loan, which we expect will be repaid in March. The proposal now is for FTC, as the long lessee of the Cheese and Grain, to invest directly in a new ventilation system and to set aside a budget of 20k for this purpose, with a view to an order being placed by the end of March this year. And this is part of a drive to enable the venue to reopen safely when the government allows, with the minimum impact on the organisation's debt burden. I'm talking about the Cheese and Grain's debt burden. The Cheese and Grain have already made alterations to the cafe and bar at their expense as part of those preparations, and the attention is now turning to the environment in the main hall. And at that point, I'm going to hand over to Steve.
You're on mute, Steve.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, good. Good evening, everyone. Thanks very much for giving us this opportunity to explain things to you. So much emphasis over the last 2 decades have been placed on making the cheese and grain mostly soundproof that we've actually ended up with a very stuffy hall that gets extremely hot. In fact, we've got quite a reputation, I'd say nationally, of being one of the most hottest and stuffiest and most venues. So when we have, normally we're fine, but when we have a sellout or we have 850 people in there, it gets intolerably hot anyway. But now with COVID along, that would actually be a serious health hazard. One of the reasons why the cheese and grain closed very early last March was that we couldn't think of a worse environment to bring people into in terms of spreading a virus. So the project is to get that air out and replace it with fresh air. It's not air conditioning. We're not recirculating air because that doesn't protect you very well from viruses. It's bringing fresh air in from outside and expelling it without making too much noise. And so there's sort of 4 pressing reasons really. Obviously, it's just a matter of people's health. It's absolutely vital that we make it a safe place to come to. We don't want people in Frome after we've got all this way through this pandemic to have a hotspot of infection in Frome at the very last hurdle. Secondly, we are actually expecting, or at least preparing for the strong possibility of new regulations, which will mean that our venue would not be able to keep its license if it didn't have ventilation. We've been warned by this by the Venue Trust that does national lobbying for the industry. And of course, the Mendip District Council will be responsible for that. And we've had lots of fights over the years with the fire officer and other licensing aspects to the thing we do. So we've really got to make sure that we can tick that box. No ventilation, no venue. And when you think about the amount of blood and treasure which we've all poured into the cheese and grain over the years, that would be crazy. I think another reason why we're talking to you about this is that cheese and grain has always been challenged by raising capital money for the cheese and grain. It has always been very difficult. We've managed it on a couple of occasions, but the fact that it's not our building is a problem when it comes to raising capital funds for structural changes to the building. And funders will point out it's not our building, it's your building. So although we're very good at raising revenue funds, and through this crisis we've raised over 400,000 in revenue funds to keep the organisation going over the last year. It's only a third of our normal expenditure, by the way, but it has kept us from drowning, from closing. But the money for ventilation, the ventilation is now urgent, and there is just no way at all that any other funding source could move as quickly as Frome Town Council. Typically, it might take 3 to 6 months to get that sort of capital from anywhere else. And certainly, I've been trying to raise capital for the ventilation system for the last 2 years without much success. So COVID puts us in a completely different space now, and we've really got to act on it.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Steve. Dan, did you have something to add to that? You're on mute.
Self-muting laptop. So no, nothing to add to that is specifically no. I think the argument is solid. My input is more on this sort of logistics of finding the right supplier, understanding the requirements, the budget, all the rest of it, and then due diligence and trying to come up with the best solution.
Okay, thank you. So this is something we need to vote on. So the proposal is, oh, John, yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would like to say that, like, in principle, I think it's, we should support this, because like was said, all that blood, sweat, and cash has been poured in already, and we need to be compliant. and it is a real problem. And it also emphasizes the importance of, because as I understand it, who owns that building? I think it's Mendip who owns that building.
Well, you have a 99-year lease from Mendip.
Yeah, okay, so that's fine. So
effectively it's yours, really. Yeah.
Okay, it's fine. So anyway, but it is a massive community asset.
Absolutely.
My question back to you would be, because we are budget constrained this year, really, we've really gone right up to the limit. We've had lots of issues around COVID and extra costs. So is there a way for us to support you or back up or underwrite something? I don't know. It's in a way that maybe, because this is all based on the premise that you're going to have lots of customers rolling in over the next few years once we're out of that. I'm just wondering, because I know there'll be some resistance on the financial front. If it was to just ask us for money, I would say yes, because I think it's so important. For me, it's just a practical situation. How do we do this within our budget constrained environment now? And that, for me, that's just a sort of rhetorical thing, but I would totally support this proposition because it's a massive need and a massive asset.
Am I not right in thinking there's some way that we can work around something we already have? Is that not what the discussion has been around? Sheila?
I wonder if Peter might be able to explain. Certainly Sarah had worked out an arrangement.
Yeah, I mean the intention is basically to underwrite this particular investment through our reserves, but Sarah has identified a specific budget for this, which is highlighted in the report. And if you just bear with me a moment, I mean
Sorry, when you say underwrite,
essentially it's to be financed from the COVID-19 expenditure code.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other, Rob? Yeah.
This is just really more of a technical question out of my curiosity. With all that fresh air coming in on a cold night, how are you going to heat the place up? Given all you got 850 hot bodies there as well, but
we really do not have a problem. That really isn't going to be a problem. It gets extremely dangerously hot, and the fresh air coming in. I mean, the first system we looked at actually cooled the air. This was more expensive and needed more maintenance. But actually, when we looked at the technical side of the details more thoroughly, we don't need to cool the air. English summer air late at night. Well, this system will only kick in, almost certainly. It'll only be turned on when the hall gets extremely hot, and it will bring the temperature. It moves the air so it feels a lot better. The temperature will come down a bit, but the most important thing is the air is moving, and therefore it's safer and it's more pleasant. We did look very early on. We looked at some extremely expensive systems, which are based on the idea that you don't want to lose any heat, so you're recycling it. But that's not applicable to our situation at all. We can do something much more cheaply, much cheaper, much more effective and healthier, because recycling, conditioning air and recycling it doesn't necessarily remove viruses. So I think we've looked about 4 different solutions, and this does seem to be the best one. But the least of my problems on a Saturday night with a sellout rock band is worrying about the hall getting cold. It's not going to happen. Never has.
Okay, so we are going to need to take a vote on this. Is that what the proposal is, that we support funding this improvement to the cheese and grains infrastructure?
I wonder if the recommendation slide could be put up, please.
That would be helpful. Okay, so recommendations: allocate a budget of 20k for the installation of a ventilation system in the main hall to be financed from the COVID expenditure code and underwritten by reserves. The recommendation is that we delegate to the deputy town clerk to finalise the technical details and place an order with a suitable supplier by the 31st of March 2021. Brilliant, thank you. Can I see the full? Thank you. So can I have a proposer for that then, please? Maxine, and a seconder. John, Nelson, and all those in favour?
I think that's that. There's just Andy Palmer. I don't want you to miss out if you're voting for this. It looks like you're not voting in favour. That's okay. That's great. So that's majority.
He's writing something down. He is
Oh,
voting in favour. He is.
He's having microphone issues.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Brilliant. Well done. That's great news. Anything that keeps the cheese and grains heart beating is great. So excellent. Anything to add on that before we move on to the next agenda item?
Yeah, just to say that Andy has put in the chat that he can't talk to us. His microphone's not working.
All right. Sorry, Andy. Okay, maybe that's a good thing.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Steve and Dan for coming, and thanks for that really good explanation, Steve. Cheers, guys. Okay, so the next thing is also for approval. This is going to be Chris talking about site management for the old Showfield and New Road. Chris,
okay.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Sarah. So yeah, that time when we have a look at some management plans for some of the parks and spaces that we look after. Tonight's two spaces are the Showfield. I'm 100% confident everyone knows where the Showfield is. The other one is for New Road. Anybody unsure about where New Road is? I won't expect anybody to either embarrass themselves or admit it, but the play area and the green space, I suppose, out towards Asda, that side of town. So what you should have all been able to see already is obviously a report that kind of introduces the new plans for both spaces, a site risk assessment for New Road, and a set of site risk assessments for the Showfield. What I was just going to do in terms of an introduction, because it features in both of these spaces actually, and is likely to feature in lots of spaces going forward, is just talk a tiny bit about the play strategy, which is going to be a really, really important document for us as a council and an important document for us as a town. So yeah, in terms of next steps for spaces that are coming forward to the committee for discussion, you will almost certainly see a line that says the next step will be to wait on what happens from the play strategy. This is an opportunity for us to look at all the play opportunities that are in the town at the minute, including our fixed play equipment in our play areas. It's also going to be an opportunity where the town can give us ideas for opportunities in the future. So we're purposely not investing in play until that play strategy has been written, approved, and gone out for lots and lots of consultation and discussion. What you might find, however, is in the future, some of the plans for the spaces we're looking at the minute come back with the outcomes of the play strategy where people would like to see X at the Showfield. So it's why it's important, and it's why it's there at the moment. The only other two next steps I'll just draw everyone's attention to. We're hoping to do something quite fun with the grass mowing at the Showfield again this year. We managed to mow a spiral last year, and we'll do something similarly interesting, I think. We'll certainly see. We'll challenge the rangers to do something good over there. And actually lockdown has also, we've started a relationship, started some conversations with the residents group down at New Road, who kind of came into existence, I suppose, or formed themselves during the first lockdown. And we just want to kind of build on that relationship a little bit going forward. So yeah, I open it up to any comments and questions at all.
Anne, your hand shot up there. Yeah, then Mark.
Yeah, it was just on that last point that you made there about the involvement of local community groups. How much input can they have into the management of a space that's close to them? And how do you balance that with the wider Froomes access to particular areas? How much ownership should a local community group have over a green space that, if you like, is owned by the whole town?
You know what, that's a great and really challenging question, and I have definitely not got a perfect answer for you on that. It's kind of community participation and involvement is obviously something that we're kind of very interested in developing as a council, full stop. I think it will vary by space to space, actually. What the group over at New Road are doing is looking after a cut through that I suspect other people in the town don't even know exists. And so it felt like an opportunity for us to simply say, well, you're looking after it in the way that we probably look after it anyway. So absolutely, we'll support you to do that. You're right, the show field's quite a nice counterpoint tonight because it's a very different space. I think you could potentially have people living next to the show field who are going to have you know, a certain aims, certain ambitions for that site, but also that's very much a town site. And I suppose to sort of answer the question, that balance has to come from us and has to come from you guys. But certainly what we're going to try to do more and more, and things like the play strategy is a good way of doing it, is get people to come to us, hopefully all talk to us at the same time. So what we can then start to do is weigh all the different ideas and then put together a plan that hopefully most people like. You know, parks can't be all things to all people, but it's important that people have the opportunity to at least talk to us about what they'd like to see happen.
That's great. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Mark, and then Paul, and then Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Good as always. This is a question, perhaps not for you, but perhaps for Peter or Paul. When we looked at before, I think it was in the last council, we put most of our open spaces in the Theodora Anne LaGrosse Trust to protect them from possible land grabs in the future. I think I remember that New Road wasn't included in that. Paul or Peter can correct me on that, or we can check it later on. In light of recent land grabs and shenanigans over bits of open spaces in the town, would it be wise to make sure that it is protected that way?
Should I come back on that one?
Thank you, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, it as far as I know from you, it is still the council's intention to put the open spaces into a trust to make it that one step harder for a future council, none of you obviously, to sell off the land. You're right, Mark. It's the intention to put these in, and we try and do them in groups. The last ones we did, Chris, were I think Welshbill and Waylands and Birchill allotments. So I think there are a few more that are coming up. But yeah, the intention is to do that. We only get that opportunity once a year with the when you as the corporate trustee, sole managing trustee of the trust meets. So, but yeah,
we've got to probably lump it in with that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob.
Yes, I just wanted to ask you, Chris, are there any obvious community groups that you are in touch with that use the show field?
No, not at the present time, actually. So we know, obviously, there's a strong community around Parkrun, and as a council, we try and support the Parkrun team to do the things they want to do. There's an awful lot of kind of dog walkers over at the show field. We know that too, and obviously there's some properties nearby. But no, at the present time, I wouldn't say there isn't a group that's kind of come forward. I guess if we were looking at opportunities, we might possibly try and put some people together who might want to help us look after the orchard over there. We also might talk to the school nearby as well at some point. But hey, if people want to come forward and put things together, that would be great.
Thank you, John. Yeah.
Well, no, judging, because I'm in Park Ward, judging by Victoria Park, I think it's only inevitable that what Rob is talking about will come. You know, we have got all kinds of things happening, particularly in the past 9-10 months. It's incredible what's happening over there, including, you know, from silent discos in the morning after, you know, whatever, to all kinds of other stuff. People are showing up doing things. So I would expect that's going to happen over at the show field.
Thank you, John. Paul.
Yeah, just coming back a bit on Anne's question that Chris was answering about sort of community groups involvement. I think what Chris was quite successfully putting across there are the big town-wide sites, or if the sites that are big that serve the town as a whole, like Victoria Park, Mary Bailey and the Showfield. And then perhaps there are a group of smaller ones like New Road that are probably used by a smaller community. The twinkle in my eye for sites like that is that we get to a point of working closely with the community, that they increasingly take over the day-to-day management, and we provide a safety net, and do the things that only we can do, like the park checks, for example, and make sure they're safe. But it's sort of going along that path that we're trying to do in other areas as well, by enabling the community to take control of their open spaces. And smaller community groups on smaller sites, I think, are an ideal mechanism to sort of deliver that broad aim.
Interesting. Any other comments, questions, observations? Then thank you very much for that, Chris. We'll be coming back to you a little bit later on in the agenda.
Sorry, Richard's got his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Rich, I didn't see. Forgive me.
Tell you a quickie, really, Chris. How's vandalism looking on the old Showfield in particular? Is that okay? And I should just say there's lots of sports teams as well around there that use that space, so that might be a route in if we need some community groups at all.
That is very true. Yeah. Yeah, vandalism at the Showfield's not too bad actually, and it's covered a little bit in the parks update later as well. We certainly haven't had what we kind of had around Christmas time in terms of vandalism. There is obviously still things that get broken, and sometimes that happens on purpose, but at the minute, not too bad.
Yeah, that's probably a credit to you guys, actually. I mean, you look after it really well, and you know the plans are fantastic. Risk assessments, all that's great. Keep doing it. Town love the Rangers.
Here, Richard. Thank you very much. John, thumbs up. Okay, lots of thumbs up. Well done. Thank you very much again, Chris. We'll see you in a little while. Next is the financial position as at the end of January, and for that the floor is Hannah's.
Hi, hopefully you've all had a chance to read the finance.
Sorry, Hannah, can I interrupt that? We need to vote on those management plans, Sarah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Right.
Yeah. Can we flash up the recommendation, please? Sorry, Hannah. Okay, so agenda item 5, recommendations: adopt the management plans, updated management plans, adopt the new site risk assessments, approve the scheduled review dates, approve the scheduled annual review of the site risk assessments, delegate responsibility to the environment manager to deliver the plans, delegate responsibility to the environment manager to keep the site risk assessments up to date in between approval and the scheduled annual reviews, including updating the coronavirus risk for both spaces. Thank you very much. Okay, can I have a proposer for any of that, please? Sheila, thank you. And a second, Richard, lovely. And a show of hands in favour.
That's unanimous.
Okay, thank you for counting, Paul. Thank you, everyone. Okay, and now over to Hannah. This is also going to be for approval, so I'll try and remember to do the vote this time. Thank you, Hannah. Sorry for the false start.
That's okay. Hopefully you've all had a chance to read the finance updates the 31st of January. The first part of the report included the internal audit review for September to December 2020, which confirms there's an adequate standard of control in place. The second part of the report proposes to transfer funds from the Saxon Vale Legacy EMR to cover the initial expenditure of £3,460 on Marketplace Phase 3. This is for illustrations and consultancy services that was previously agreed by councillors. So this is just to ask for the money to be able to come from the Saxon Vale Legacy EMR. The next part of the report is the income and expenditure sheet and the payments over 500. Our income highlights: we've received £50,000 from Somerset County Council for the small Improvement Scheme for the Marketplace Phase 2. We've received £35,000 from Mendip District Council for grant funding towards COVID-19 losses and costs. We've also received £12,000 from Mendip Tourism for grant funding to support development of sound, walking and Rook Lane arts projects. Our expenditure highlights: we've spent £71,460 to Alan Griffiths for Marketplace Phase 2 works in September. We've also paid them £17,240 to Alan Griffiths for Marketplace Phase 2 works in October. Our Public Works Loan Board half-yearly repayments for Cheese and Grain Building in Garsdale were £54,217. Are there any questions on the income expenditure or payments over 500? No? Okay. So the next part of the report is the balance sheet. So assets, money in our bank account, money we've invested and money owed to us. This is 1,410,000. Sorry, my phone's going in the background. Sorry, our assets are £1,410,863. Our liabilities, the money that we owe, and this £8,458. Our total net assets, which is the assets minus the liabilities, are £1,402,405. Our general reserves were £853,085, and our EMRs totaled £549,320. Our total reserves equal the same as our net assets, which is £1,402,405. Despite the impact of the coronavirus pandemic, Freetown Council remains financially sound with adequate funds and assets. Are there any questions on any of the report? No. Lovely, thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Hannah. Now we do need to approve the recommendation, which is... We can just flash that one up. Thank you, Rachel. Lovely. Okay. So, internal auditors report, September to December 20, expenditure for Marketplace Phase 3, income and expenditure sheet to the 31st of January, payments over 500 to January 21 from October, balance sheet including the breakdown of reserves at 31st of January 2021, all as just discussed by Hannah. Can I have a proposer? Mark, thank you. And a seconder, Andy P, thank you. And show of hands, please, if you approve.
That's unanimous, Sarah.
Thank you very much, everybody. And thanks again, Hannah. Okay, over to Chris again. Nothing to vote on this time, but a Parks and Green Spaces update.
Yep, thank you. So again, hopefully the report is pretty clear and self-explanatory. I'll just highlight a couple of bits. I think, as everybody knows now, at the moment the skate park is both closed and fenced off. That's something that's happened following discussions with the police. It's something that has generated quite a lot of queries coming into the council over the last week or so. But it is simply something that is being done, hopefully to get us out of lockdown as soon as possible as a town and as a country. There are some very nice new solar lights in at the Dippy and the set in between Mary Bailey and Victoria Park, which I took a little walk earlier to have a look at, and they were looking great. I'd also just like to highlight the footpath improvements and step improvements at Millennium Green as well. It's one of those jobs that it gets a single line in this update. I know how hard the Rangers worked on that because it's a very tricky site to work on, and they've had to take wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow of aggregate all the way across that space, all the way from North Parade Car Park. So that's been a tough old ask, but the results are looking really, really good. So yeah, happy to answer any questions and for any comments.
Thank you very much, Chris. Any comments or questions for Chris? Richard?
Just something that comes to mind, the Rodden Meadow path, as you come back onto the path towards the railway bridge leading down to the train station, that path looks to me as though it's slowly sliding down the hill again. It's probably something that county should look at. I don't know if you could sort of let them know that they probably need to take a look.
Yeah, no problem at all, Rich. We'll have a look, take a few photos, send it off to them and see what's going on.
Bit of showing up, thank you. Sheila.
Just like to say that I was in Millennium Green today, and it really does look great. The transformation of that particular site is fantastic. You know, the undergrowth is really sorted, the steps look fantastic, that path was beautiful.
All we need now is for it to be free of machinery and people making noise. Thanks very much for that, Chris. Then now we have Rachel again for Town Hall updates.
Did Rob have his hand up?
I don't know. Did Rob have his hand up and I missed it?
No, my mistake.
No, okay. Thanks though, Paul. Rachel.
Yes, hi. So the town hall. So since I last wrote a town hall report, we have had not one but 2 lockdowns, which has significantly impacted what has been going on in the town hall. Last I wrote, there was a skeleton crew in the town hall. And as you can see, none of us are there, with the exception now of the cleaners, who are also overseeing a caretaking role, and our town hall steward, who is busily getting on with the jobs that can be gotten on with, and we're making sure that the building doesn't go damp and mouldy with the absence of people, as it's a very beautiful building, but it is old and it does need looking after. So it continues to be regularly assessed, and we're ensured of the safety of the staff that are there by keeping it really very limited. Visitors to the town hall are extremely limited. FLP and one person from Y and Fairfroom are continuing also to operate out of the building, just so that you know. It has been COVID assessed by Chris, who's risk assessed it, and that is how we're operating from now going forward until full lockdown ends. June the 21st we are hoping for, but obviously we will stage in line with the government as we have been doing all along. So currently we are confident that the people who are using the building are as safe as possible. The caretaking duties have enabled us to actually do more in the way of maintenance than we otherwise might have done, because the cleaners have had less cleaning to do, because there have been less to occupy themselves. So to that end, the cleaners have really got to grips with what you might call the bump and grind of the building. So the chips and the scrapes have all been gone, so that when we return, it really will be just a beautiful, beautiful venue. Which brings me to the sad part of this report. When I was last reporting, I was quite pleased to be able to say that we were only £22,000 down, and I was looking forward to being able to see what we could scrape back. However, the last 2 months have meant that we've significantly increased, and we're now looking at a deficit of £31,359. It sounds quite precise, but we always take these figures directly from the figures that are in the booking system. So we only count money that is actually in the system. So obviously we will work really, really hard as soon as we are unlocked to market the building and to get everything back to normal as quickly as possible. And in the last financial year, obviously we did quite well and hit all the targets and more so. So I do feel quietly confident, but we do have to acknowledge that we won't be making money in the town hall properly until June the 21st, which is obviously a good chunk into next financial year too. But not to be too doom and gloom, because as Hannah's just said, the COVID impact, there is room for a bit of protection there. So that's good, really. We have been, sorry, just let me check my notes. We have been getting on with other things as well. The fall arrest system investigations continue. So we're hoping to get that really in place with a view to sorting out the roof this summer. In the meantime, some of the more remedial acts a roof has been up there, had a look, done a few patches in the meantime before we can really commit to the whole proper work, but we're working towards that. And the building's also been surveyed for energy improvements, including assessing the windows for secondary double glazing and draft proofing and light fittings for LEDs. That was assessed as part of a grant bid that Sarah put in. So we, even if that grant's unsuccessful, we hope to be able to move forward on a piece by piece basis, budgeting as we go. Spring cleaning has in effect now been done, so that's nice. Building's going to be spick and span. As I said, the paintwork's all been touched up, and we're also reassessing and organising our very limited storage spaces. So between them, Sean and the cleaner have done a good job of trying to make new space, because we have just taken delivery of a stage which we've been gifted for the council chamber, well, and anywhere else that we want to use it, and also as a community asset. So that's a nice thing. That's found a new home in the boiler room, which now has a much smaller boiler than the room that it sits in. So let's end that on that positive note.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Rachel. Max, and then John.
Hiya, thank you. Rachel, we had such great news before lockdown, before COVID, didn't we, about the weddings and about the wedding license. And I just wanted to ask you where we are with weddings. I mean, is it June or is it earlier? And can we start taking bookings, or what's the situation?
So actually we have heard today it is going to be a little bit earlier. We were hoping it was going to be March the 8th, but we've been told no, it's going to be the 29th of March. From the 29th of March, it will be 6+ guests. And actually the wedding service are anticipating that a lot of people will wait for the extra month until May, and then be able to at least have 15 guests. And it looks like post June we will then have 4,000 guests, I believe is the number quoted, although obviously not in our town hall. Sorry, Chris, obviously I wouldn't squeeze 4,000 people in there. So the bookings for the weddings that's not dealt with by us. Effectively, we sublet the town hall to Somerset on particular days, and then they book out the weddings, and that is the easiest and best way for them to be able to manage. So they effectively book out the room, and they book out a registrar, and then they deal with that. Where we sort of top and tail around it, obviously, is with receptions, drinks. We've got all sorts of fantastic plans that we nearly got to put one in place in December. We were hoping to do a little drinks reception, but it didn't. We were scuppered by the COVID restrictions, but we have lots of plans in place to that end. We have, and I can also see there's a question here about bookings so far made for post June. Actually, we haven't had that many inquiries yet, so it doesn't look like people are ready to just suddenly go woohoo and dive in. But we have had a number of inquiries about a number of different things, and of course, a lot of our meetings are really looking forward to be able to get back in. A lot of our meetings are the jobbing sort of services, the probation service, dimensions, the trainers, people who've just been using our rooms, and it's not an enormous, £60 a week isn't very much until you times it by 52, and then it's a lot. So, those are also the things which will really help us claw back as soon, and we are anticipating that they will come back as soon as they possibly can.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you very much, Rachel. And John Nelson.
Yeah, it's just a quick question, really. The previous group of councillors committed Frome Town Council to a net zero carbon target. Have we done a study on the town hall? How far the town hall the town hall itself, and then the operations of Frome Town Council have reached net zero carbon. And have we done a study on that? Yes or no? Really, I guess.
So I think the answer is probably partially, because as I said, we know that there are some things that need to be addressed quite quickly, and we'll easily bring that down. I believe Anna did do a piece of work around the town hall in order to get zero carbon from the town hall, and doing the windows and the LED lights is certainly part of that work, would be my short and not very full answer. But
thank you, Rachel. And Anne?
It's a question about the town hall, but it's also possibly a question for Paul. When we get to go back, will we be able to carry on with digital meetings or have some sort of digital access? Or will that be made illegal by central government? I don't know what they're going to allow us to do after restrictions are lifted.
Shall I get that, Saria?
Yes, thank you, Paul.
Yeah, it's reality is forging ahead of legislation at the moment. At the moment, the local authorities in total, so the equivalent of Mendip and county and the parish sector, are allowed to do meetings like this virtually until I think it's the 6th of May. Thereafter, these meetings at the moment will be technically illegal, so we'll have to go back. However, the reality sort of mixes into that, and we expect, and this isn't certain, Anne, but we expect to be able to come back to physical meetings when it's safe and run virtual meetings, virtual in parallel. So if you were on your holidays in the Caribbean, you could zoom in and partake in the meeting. Legislation always lags behind reality, especially in a situation like we're doing at the moment. But the direction of travel is certainly in that way, and I would expect us to be able to do that as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, is there anyone we need to lobby? Because I think it's essential to improve engagement and allow people to attend, even if it's virtually. Even if we're physically in the council chamber, I think it's so important to allow people to look at it on YouTube and attend if they want to while they're putting the kids to bed.
And it was always our intention, although Sheila in particular will remember that we're still having trouble with the cameras, although Rupert from Frome FM is working with Sean this week about improving that so we can stream the meeting. So that's one part of it, and then there's the interaction and people contributing to the meeting, and it's that bit that NALC, the National Association of Local Councils, and the Clerks Society are both lobbying central government to enable that to happen. Whether it will happen on the 6th of May, I would guess not, but that's the intention of travel. And you're right, it's really important. It just makes it so much more accessible.
Great, thank you.
Paul. Rachel, did you have your hand up? And then Max? No?
No, it was just to say that I know that Sean is continuing to work on it with Rupert. It has been a bit of a thorn in our side, but they were making enormous inroads as we locked up, so we are quietly confident.
Brilliant. And then Max?
Just to say, it seems crazy if they don't allow the legislation, because as we're being told by scientists that this is going to be seasonal, then we can't expect people who are potentially vulnerable to have to come in the winter. They can't keep saying legislation's on, legislation's off, legislation's on again, legislation's off again. It'll just be like lockdowns all over again. So I sort of hope that something a little more formal comes into place rather than just something piecemeal. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Anything else on that one? Marvellous. Okay, to our final agenda item then, back to Chris, I'm guessing, health and safety updates.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sarah. So yeah, final update of the evening. Just a couple of bits to draw people's attention to, I think. So we've heard that a tree branch fell onto somebody's car along Welsh Mill Road. We're looking into that. I'll be honest, it's always a possibility where we have lots and lots of trees, and we're not going to disproportionately manage. We can't remove that risk. It's something it's one of the reasons that insurance exists, and obviously what we want to ensure is that there aren't any trees along there that are a particular concern. Healthy trees absolutely will just stay as they are. And the existing claim following the accident along the river path between Waylands and Welsh Mill, there is now a settlement offer being made. So that's an update after probably a good couple of years on that one. No, in fact, December 2017 that first started, so quite a while. So yeah, any questions on that? Otherwise, the report's just there for information.
Thank you. Any questions on either of those things? Excellent. I make it 11 minutes past 8. Is this a record?
Let's call it one. Even so, let's have that endorphin rush.
Is that, are we done? Can we be free? That's
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you everyone for your contributions, councillors and staff, and thank you attendees for coming and your questions and support. And we'll see you all soon.